This is the Roller Coaster Podcast, and I'm your host, Lucy Q. Life is a wild ride. It has twists and turns. It's scary, exciting, and downright fun. So throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
It's easy to see someone based only on their outward visible success. Often, that success is built on a foundation of overcoming challenges. Sylvia Hubbard was faced with sudden homelessness, poverty, and bankruptcy. But this single mom of three didn't let that break her spirit or ambition. Sylvia is joining me today to chat about how she pulled herself up and became an award-winning romance suspense best-selling author. Hi, Sylvia.
Hello. Thank you so much.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
So how many books have you written?
So it's going to be over 50. I'm doing 3 books this year. I curse myself because I should be doing more since I sat at home all last year.
Wait, what?
I'm like hitting myself on the hand, like, you should have been better.
But most people are struggling even to write their first book, and you're doing 3 in 1 year.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm gonna. I already put them up, so I have to do it. Like, I'm doing it.
So, and what type of book? Like, I know romance and I know suspense, but how does that sort of blend together?
So it's basically I weave romance around suspense. So you're getting a happily ever after, heart-stopping action, suspense, mystery. Sometimes I'll throw erotic in there, and bam, let's do
that.
This.
Sounds like my type of book.
I say I'm bad on paper, so I can be good in life. So I got a lot of bad stuff I really want to do. So.
And it's not that, we like to be judged, no pun intended, but judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I'm not
that. You look so
I am not that
sweet and innocent.
I know, and people like, you're Sylvia, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I do say that. I'm bad on paper, so I can be good in life. So I can, I can say whatever I want or be whoever I want on paper, because I'll get mad in real life and I'll be like, I coulda.
And you're gonna I'm gonna write you in my book.
I'm gonna get rid of you.
I'm gonna kill you in my book. That's gonna be the greatest revenge.
It is, because then it's like when you see that person again after you've gotten revenge in your book, you're not even mad. You're like, I threw you down the stairs. Whatever, girl. We're over it.
Or I made you ugly. Oh my God,
it gets rid of that stress. A lot of the pent up emotions, like I should have said this, I could have did this, and what would have happened. And then it also lets you, stay away from like bad things, because you just explore that what if on paper instead of, hey, that stranger wanted me to get in the car, but I didn't. But what if I got in the car? What would have happened? And then you kind of control the narrative without feeling that danger or come up missing.
You're killing me. Come up missing or end up on the side of a milk container.
Thank you. Thank you. You control it, and then you can say, hey, I did that, but only in your head. But sometimes you can, especially with women, we can imagine stuff so real that, like, we go to our happy place, and especially like when we're having babies, they say go to your happy place where you don't feel pain that you're being ripped apart. It's okay. Go to your happy place, but our imagination is just so powerful that, we can be there and be in that moment. And that's what I love to do when I write. So trust me, it's helped me through, you say I went through so many hard times. I think books were my salvation. Telling my stories were the salvation that I needed when I couldn't get away. That's how I traveled.
And you then use that ability to rewrite the script of your life.
True, true, and find my own successful happiness. And I like to say successful happiness because we're always saying I want to be happy, or we want to be successful. But I think you need to have the combination of both in order to be truly complete. So that's how I
Yes.
feel.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
So, how did you go from single mom, living in poverty, facing bankruptcy, all of these things that, are going to tear at your spirit? How did you go from that to this quantum leap to 50 books later?
So the misery started. I think for anybody, when it starts, you really don't see the misery bricks building around you. First it was a layoff, then it was sudden poverty, where okay, that's when the government was shutting down all the time. So if the government shuts down, people don't know, we don't get unemployment checks. That doesn't stop. And then you don't get aid, you don't get food stamps, you don't. So I think that year the government shut down like about 7 times. uh and so like I was on a wing and a prayer, trying to just literally like this keep it together, just like okay, we're going in the red, but we're gonna be okay. We can hold on. Just just one more month, we'll be okay, because it'll open back up. Everything will go back to normal, and that's how you just keep. You tell yourself. Everyone tells us, okay, it's gonna be okay. If I can just hold on, it's gonna be okay. And then we had a fire in the middle of the winter time. 8 minutes, our whole house just burnt down. So
Oh,
it wasn't
God.
even we could get anything out of the house. It burned to the ground in 8 minutes. We walked out with like, I just had a long shirt on and some socks, standing in the snow, and I'm looking at my kids like we're all in our house clothes. It's a 6 p.m. and we just watched our house burn down. And I had checked my bank account that morning because all the bills were due. It was near the middle of the month and the bills were coming up due. And at that time, I knew I had 68 cents to my name. Literally 68. I remember that number so well.
Wow.
And as the house was burning down, that's all that echoed was 68 cents. 68 cents. My son looked straight at me and said, Mom, what do we do now? And when I tell you, that's the worst feeling in the world, when you're barely holding on, being this single mom, being a homemaker, barely going through. And they understand, like, yeah, we were broke, but they didn't understand how broke we were. He's saying, what do we do? That's the worst feeling, when you can't even tell your son, I don't know where we're going to get shoes for you. I don't know, because we had no shoes for him. What was that going to do? So like we just took it one day at a time. Now, previous to all of this, I was writing, and so I did have like, my royalty check was coming in at the end of the month, and so I was hoping and praying I sold books. Like I was hoping and praying like 2 months ago, because it's always like 2 months in the hole. I was just okay, hoping and praying things worked out in that end. But for 2 weeks, 68 cents is nothing. But like I have been helping people in the community, even though I was bankrupt. I mean, even though I was laid off, and I didn't have hardly any money or living from day to day, I still would go out and help people if they needed help and I could lend a hand. I was there. If they needed something done and I could do it, I would do it. So the night of the fire, someone sent a message out on social media, and they told everybody I had a fire, because I wasn't going to tell anybody, because when you go through things like that, you're like, I'm not going to burden the world with my business. But somebody sent the message out overnight on Facebook, and they said, if Sylvia has done anything for you, if you could just give her $1.
Oh, wow.
I woke up the next morning and I looked at my PayPal, and it was like over 6,000.
Wow.
So it helped, especially when you felt like I woke up that morning and I was like, that 68 cents was still like boom, 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 boom. And I saw that and it was just amazing. And that we held on to that, but we were still homeless because Detroit was going through a bankruptcy. Red Cross really couldn't help me because it was the middle of winter. They was helping everybody else. Governments were shutting down, so it was hard trying to get aid. We ended up squatting in a house because when I tried to go to a homeless shelter, because my son was 15 and he kind of had facial hair, he looked like The Rock, so he had a full kind
Oh
of peach
no.
fuzz.
Yeah.
They wouldn't allow him in the women's and children's section, and I would have to send him to the men's section. So we knew we couldn't go to a homeless shelter. So we ended up squatting inside of an abandoned home. I got into the Habitat program, but with no car. And that was one of the coldest winters. It was like getting below 20 degrees almost every day. And we would have to catch the bus to our sweat equity, me and my son, we would go out there and just huddle together, wait to work, do our sweat equity. All that time I was trying to get another job. It was a lot to do, but I just kept hoping. Like you just keep hoping, okay, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Um with my savings from my books, I was able to put a down payment on the house. We were able to get into a new house in a year. So a brand new house. And I'm going to tell you, the best thing in the world is sitting on a toilet nobody else has sat on. Just and very few people have had that experience. I'm gonna tell you that. But the best thing is when they they all left. They handed me the keys to the house, and they all left. And then I turned the key, and I heard that click. And to this day, I still remember that click because at the house we were squatting in, we didn't have a key to it. We never locked that door, and at any moment, somebody could have came in there and killed us. Like everybody, we would pretend we were locking the door.
Wow.
So that was the best moment. That was the first night in a whole year I slept safely because I knew like no one could break in and no one could come get us in the middle of the night. No one could hurt my family. So we just it kind of went uphill from there because I knew if I had the faith and the hope and just the fortitude to just keep working towards that it's going to get better goal, it does. So it's kind of like you plan for the worst, pray in expectancy, and you parent. You literally have to parent not only your children, your home, but yourself most of all, and keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. But I would say it took a lot of faith because I mean everybody, even my son, he was like, "You do so much good for everybody else. It's not fair that this happens to you. Bad things always happen to you." I mean, and to I could understand his frustration, and I mean he was shaking with anger because he didn't think it was fair for me that I got the short end of the stick, and to stand there and try to reason with him and my daughter who was just as angry and try to tell them, if we just have a little bit more faith, it's gonna work out. And even when we were squatting in the house, things were going wrong. Animals were getting in. The furnace broke down. The lights kept flickering. I mean, we had so much, like in that year, it was like one after another. We didn't know what we were going to come home to or what was going to happen in the middle of the night or what else could go wrong. It went wrong. It was like Murphy's Law lived around us. So we had that conjuring Murphy's Law ghost just going around us like, okay, I'm gonna mess this up. You were like, okay, that's it. That's nothing else bad could happen. And then the next day something bad would happen. So it just like it's trying to convince them of the the hope, just let's keep hoping. I felt like Frodo. Frodo in the ring, like, we can do it. We're gonna make it to Mount Mordor.
So in those, like when you were in those dark moments, those, when you're squatting in the house and you're facing one struggle after another, you said that you kept having hope and faith that something, that it would get better.
Yeah.
What did you use as your source of inspiration? Were there, you know, videos you were listening to? Were there certain thought leaders you were listening to? Or was this just a strength that you were drawing from within?
It was my imagination. I would literally say it was just imagining where I wanted to be, and reaching out to it in my mind and saying, if we step forward one more time, we're closer. It's kind of like when you're in those dreams and you see where you are and it keeps getting farther and farther away. um it was just in my mind. It was literally my imagination that saved me from going crazy. And it's you get to a point where you just don't take your eye off the prize. And that's how it was. Even when people told me, oh, Habitat's not going to help you out. I mean, I literally had other people, Sylvia, I'll just give you a house and this and this and this, or I'll help you find another house, or you can just buy a used house and fix it up. And I was like, okay, I'm in this program. I felt I was led by spirit, hope, and faith that, okay, I started this program. I'm going to finish with this program and I am going to get a brand new house because I deserved it.
It was your turn.
It was my turn. And no matter what anybody said, no matter how anybody tried to discourage me, I'm going to keep going forward. So it was faith. It was literally my faith and my imagination that if I can imagine a happily ever after for for an imaginary character, I can create a happily ever after for myself. But it had to be weaved in a lot of faith and a lot of hope. And it was weird because, well, it was wonderful because my daughter woke up the next day after we got our house, and she came into my room, and she was like 16 years old at the time, and she just turned to me and said, thank you. She said, thank you for not giving up, no matter what anybody said, no matter what happened. She said you kept going. And she told me that, like, even like we went for Mother's Day just this year, and she said the things that she has accomplished in life is only because she saw me struggle, and through the hard times I just kept focused on what I wanted. And she said if I could just have a little bit of that, I know I can get to anything I want. And it's nice to know when like the things that you're going through, you become an example to others, that other people are looking at you, even when you're under the bucket. You're not even at the bottom of the bucket. You're under the you're like under the bucket, like I can't even get in the bucket at this point. But like it was such a blessing to see that my journey was teaching her and even other people who came up to me later on and said, you know what, if I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it, and watched you grow and get yours and everything. So they were like, you made a believer out of me. Like, if all I had is hope and faith, I could get anything. And I'm like, pretty much.
Well, you taught your kids as well as everyone around you the importance of knowing what's possible.
Right.
And that's, it's almost one of those stories that you kind of have to see it to believe it, whether you're seeing it from somebody close to you, a friend, a neighbor, a
Right.
relative, or you can relate to, somebody in that sort of influencer celebrity
Right.
status. you know y- you can sit there and go, well, if they could do it,
Right.
then why can't I? And that's the challenge is, for a lot of people, they know that, but they can't implement it in their own life.
Right.
They
And it
always
was,
think it's a dream out there for somebody else.
yeah, yeah, and I did too. I had always like that Murphy spirit was that Murphy's Law spirit was. I used to say that was my middle name. I still say it. Like, what will go wrong, what can't
No,
go wrong
stop
will
saying
go
it.
wrong.
Can you change your name, maybe?
Right.
Maybe not have that as your middle name.
But and that's why I started with the plan, pray, parent method, is because I would just plan for the worst. I'd like, if whatever, let's just start at the worst. And then if it gets better, it gets better, but at least I've planned for everything else. And whatever can go wrong, I'm like, okay, I knew this was gonna happen. Let's My dad would always have these famous words of um fix it now, cry later. And so that would be one of my mantras that I would have. Like, okay, I can always have room to cry. I can cry for 5 minutes while I'm in the bathroom, and I can cry for 10 minutes in the shower. I can, I can plan out my cries, but let me fix this problem now, so then I can, later on, I do have a lot more time to cry about it, because it's like, oh, good Lord. Just,
Yeah.
but yeah, it worked. It
Well,
worked.
you certainly had your fair share of challenges come up.
Yeah,
And how long ago was it that you moved into your home?
that was 2014. So it was not that long ago. And yeah, every day it feels even surreal from where we came from to where we are now. Um, I I thank God every day that I don't thank him for especially the beat up I got spiritually, but I realized that you have to go through storms to get those rainbows that are meant just for you. There's no way to get the rainbow until after the storm. We all know this. It's by nature.
And you almost don't appreciate that rainbow unless
Right.
you've been through. I mean,
Unless
if
you
your
go
life
through
was
that.
always rainbows and unicorns, you're never going to appreciate them.
Right. If
But
somebody's always giving you rainbows and unicorns, you'll never really appreciate the colors, the variations, the strength of it, that it could go through and shine as bright as it does in the sky. But when you create that rainbow after you've gone through that storm and just danced in the rain, you really know that that's what it was for you. Like, when you get a blessing that's just for you, you're like, this is amazing, because it's concrete and you can hold it. When can you ever explain grace to your children? When can you explain, faith and hope? But my life is that it's a concrete. It becomes a noun, and that's beautiful. Like, that's beautiful for me, and it's beautiful to share it when I can just stand in front of people and they tell me, all the horrible things they went through, and I can say, I know what you mean. I, I can really
literally,
say, I can literally,
yeah, you're like, I wrote the book.
right. I can say that, my life is a testament of not giving up, and that the dreams and blessings that you imagine will not even come close to the gifts that is waiting for you. Literally, like, literally, I can say that, because even when I wanted a house, I prayed for a house every day. We were homeless. I was like, I just want a house, Lord. I just want a house. Not only did he give us a brand new 30-year roof home, and any homeowner knows, like, oh my God, that's like that's all you got to really say. But it was a no interest mortgage. They had stocked it up with brand new furniture, brand new appliances. What can you say for that? And it's a parcel and a half. That means it's twice the space as what other people would get in a regular thing. If I had accepted the stuff that people were gonna throw at me, not to say I wasn't grateful. If I hadn't kept on the journey and just kept the faith, I would have gotten half the blessing that I have now. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh, definitely. I mean, for an author, I would expect nothing less to be able to paint such a beautiful picture with words.
but it was like, I'm glad I stuck to it. And I can tell other people to say, stick to what you know and believe is your what's going to be your happiness. Stick on that path and don't let even yourself talk you out of it, because I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say, oh no, I was okay, everything was fine, and I just said go 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 go. There were times I'd be like in the shower, like, oh my God, I could just give up now. I could just jump in my car and leave everybody and disappear. Like, those thoughts, yes, they went through my head. Giving up was so easy. Like, the stress was so hard, and giving up would have been just so easy, but I didn't. I don't know. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to be able to hear the click, and to be able to lay in bed and sleep for one night. And I did. I got it. And I want to tell everybody, don't give up. Don't even give up on yourself. Just do it. Parent, because that's what your parent does, is that they want the best for you. And then after we get like 16, 17, we forget that, because we're grown. We're grown and we don't have to worry about our parents anymore. But we still need a parent in our head telling us, you can do it. You deserve it. We can get this done. You still need that voice in your head parenting you to get you to where you want to be and you need to be in life. And I think that's what we forget. We need to parent ourselves even after we're grown. And I guess that's where I would say my inspiration came from, is that my parenting,
Your parenting.
my parenting, I became a parent to myself and got up and did the work that I needed to do every day, even when I didn't feel like doing, because that's what parents make us do. So when you asked me that question, what inspired you?
Your
It was
inner parent.
my inner parent literally made me get out of bed, take a shower, literally, because you have to tell yourself when you're depressed and you feel like no hope is there, to take a shower. People don't even realize that. And brush your teeth, and then handle the problems. Get the big stuff out the way, the hard stuff out the way, and then, just keep going. Get back up the next day. Take a shower. Because people don't really understand, like, that's even hard to do
It
when
is, yeah.
you're in that
Yeah.
dark place. But then after a while, like, because then it doesn't matter. It feels like nothing matters. Nothing, nothing, no one cares. Nothing's there. Nothing matters. And even that shower, getting the dirt off of you physically, is a step forward towards that goal. And people just don't realize that. Getting the grime off your teeth, that's a goal. Trust me, and sometimes that would be my only goal in 24 hours. And I would, go to bed at night and say, hey, I have that parent discussion. So how was your day? And I brush my teeth. That's about it. That's the only good thing that happened. If that's the only good thing that happened, then hey, we got tomorrow, and that would be that inner parent that inspired me. So yes, that would be an answer to your question. That's what inspired.
What an amazing journey. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Going back to your books, how can people find out more about your steamy romance suspense books?
So you can always visit my website at sylviahubbard.com and see a list of all the books that I have. They are available at wherever books are sold. I'm also available on all social medias as Sylvia Hubbard One. I also am founder of Motown Writers Network, where we help writers get to their literary goals and we connect readers to Michigan authors. And we meet every second Saturday, and you can check us out at motownwriters.com. So you can come to my website at sylviahubbard.com, subscribe, and then join us and find great books by Michigan authors at motownwriters.com.
If you're looking at connecting with Sylvia, make sure you check out the show notes. I'm going to have all of her links in there. And Sylvia, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creator.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Roller coaster. Ride, ride.